Hey, welcome to episode 2. I am your host, Camille Walker, and I am so excited about today's episode. We are diving deep into a story of how two unlikely friends from different countries came together with a passion for fitness and women empowerment to create a global revolution to aerobic fitness as we knew it. Emily Nelson and Amber Zenith created High Fitness over 5 years ago and somehow managed to grow their business to over 3,500 instructors with people tuning in from 10 countries all over the world. Their focus on positivity and empowerment and loving each other through it all is what makes this dynamic duo someone you will want to learn more about. And let me tell you from experience, this workout is so much more than about losing weight. So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? We'll listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Hey, I'm so excited to have you both here today. We have Emily Nelson and Amber Zenith, the founders and creators of High Fitness. And I mean it when I say it, that I am major fangirls of both of you. And I cannot wait to dig into the story of how this company was created and how it has changed so many lives. So thank you so much for being here today.
We're excited.
Yeah, we were saying it's been a while since we've done an interview together, like quite a while. And so we were really excited about this.
That's so cool. Okay, so I want to give you each a chance to introduce yourselves and tell us more about where you grew up, how many kids you have, and your favorite food. I think we're going to make that a theme. I love to hear people's favorite food. I know.
You want to go
ahead?
First,
Go ahead.
Okay. So my name's Emily Nelson, and I'm half of High Fitness, and I was born and raised in Bountiful, Utah, which is where I currently live now, which I always hated that when people move back to where they're from, but I've learned to embrace it. And I am married and I have 3 children. I have 2 girls, almost 10 and 7, and then a 2-year-old little boy. And they're just the best. They are so much fun. And, my favorite food. Is that what I'm going to next?
You're going, yeah.
Gosh. I love sushi, but if I just had to eat a food at home all the time, a good chips and salsa is I love chips and salsa and guac probably. That's a good food that I love.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's hard to choose your favorite food. I'm sitting here racking my brain going, favorite? What do you mean?
We love food.
All of it.
Yeah. So I'm Amber Zenith and I'm from Calgary, Canada. And I live in Calgary, Canada. So we have that in common, which is so funny that we both live in our hometowns because we'll get to this, but Emily actually lived here when we met. So we'll get back to that. But it's funny how we both lived in the towns that we were born and raised in, which is funny. I have 2 girls, Sloan and Zelda. Sloan is 10 and Zelda is 7. And yeah, I live in Calgary, Canada. My favorite food, well, I think my favorite bad food is poutine, which we had this whole discussion on Instagram that you guys don't even have it. And we have it at McDonald's. It's so normal here. So it's fries. And do you know what squeaky cheese is? It's kind of like cheese curd. Okay.
Yeah.
Cheese curd. They put cheese curds and then gravy and it all melts and it's so good.
Have you had that? Anyway, do you like that?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's. I mean, you can't really go wrong with French fries and cheese.
I mean, that's the truth.
But it's so bad because it's at McDonald's, so you're literally shaking, trying not to go to McDonald's to get this poutine. And honestly, I'd have to say a good salad's my favorite, and Emily can vouch for that. I love a good but it has to have nuts and a real good hearty salad. That's probably my favorite food. If someone gives me that, I am so happy.
Oh, I love it. Okay, well, I have to say, you have to both be fueling your bodies with amazing things because I've known Emily since we were, I think, 14 years old. And we were in a dance class together years and years ago. And she has always had the most incredible energy. You just want to be around her. Oh. She has so much to give of it. And then somehow, by some miracle, she met someone that matched that energy, and that was you. So I can't wait to hear, like, tell me more about how you met and what was that magic that happened that brought you two together, because you really are such a dynamic duo.
Well, it's funny because the story wasn't like all of a sudden we met in this amazing thing. It was like kind of a slow process. So I remember I worked at a gym in Calgary, Canada called Heavens. And it was like the boutique kind of studio. She had been rocking actually aerobics classes, but like steps and like really old school. And she was like the queen of aerobics here where I live. And so I worked there. And it's actually where I met my husband too. So it's like this, and it's called Heavens. It's called Heaven. So literally like good things are happening here. I got to tell you. So I remember when Emily and Hank walked in, like it was yesterday, and he had this huge curly hair and they looked like they were straight out of California. Like they should have had surfboards underneath their arms. They just looked fresh and tanned and young and fabulous. So I'm 8 years older than Emily. So, you know, they were fresh and that. And so they said, we're from Utah. And just by coincidence, my dad lives in Utah. So I said, oh, my dad lives in Utah. And I gave them the tour. So now, Emily, what's your perspective from this point
Yeah.
on?
So you mentioned already that I'm kind of hyper. So this is I mean, hyper, I'm getting old now. I was fresh faced. I mean, that was a long time ago, 10 plus years. Are we on like 12 years ago now? Who knows? Okay. Yeah. No, longer than that. It was 16 years ago, what she's talking about. 2006, 7. Isn't that 13 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Nuts.
I know. So I was a lot more fresh faced, but I've always been like, had a lot of energy. So we moved to Calgary, and literally the first day we're there, in fact, my dad was still there, like helping us move in. And I was like, I've got to find a gym. And they're like, okay. And I'm just like, I got to find a gym. Not so much like I was worried about working out, but I have known since forever that a gym is where you find a community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like working out with people. I love group fitness. I love it. So I was just like, let's find a gym. So literally we walk into this gym. She's like, my dad's from Utah. I can picture exactly where we were too. And I just remember, and then they gave me the price of the membership and I was all, here we are, like newly married, just uprooted our entire lives to another country. We don't got a lot of money. And the memberships were like $120 a month, which nowadays with like, you know, F45s, Orange Theories, like boutique gyms, that is more, it can happen like CrossFit here. But when I had moved there in 2007, it was like $9.99 at the Gold's Gym. Like that's what you paid.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, this isn't going to happen. So somehow they gave me a free week and I weaseled my way into classes and then weaseled my way into getting a job there. Don't tell anyone. I mean, this is going on a podcast, but I didn't have a work visa yet. But I was just like, yeah, sure. I'll work the front desk. I'll wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And so we ended up working together at Heavens. I mean, I'm her wife. He's her husband. We all met there. But we started working there. And so I went from working just like a desk job to actually taking over for the fitness director and doing that. And she worked in marketing and memberships and all these things. And so we just, like we said, we were totally different backgrounds. She's 8 years older, but we always had this connection. And it really happened where we got a more connection as we ended up getting pregnant with our oldest about the same time. But let me tell you, our pregnancies, remember how she said she likes salad? Like I'm over there with a chunk of bread barfing in the corner. And she's like, this salad is so good. I have never felt better. I've never felt better in my whole life. And I'm like, and then she's like, I'm just like gaining weight. And she's like looking like shining. And I was like, we're never allowed to be pregnant together again. But I think that's really what really started our more of our friendship. But it wasn't until I moved back to Utah. Well, I should say, you can say about how, you know, I inspired you to try something new. But when I moved back to Utah, we kept in touch. And it was actually when I was back here, after that is when Heist started. But you can tell about how I have you do dance fitness.
Yeah. So in my defense about the whole pregnancy, I have colitis. So when you're pregnant, your immune system kind of shuts down so that it doesn't like attack. So but yes, I have amazing pregnancies because I'm usually like doubled over in pain, but I felt good. So I'm eating salad, living my best life. So, anyways, I had been at this job for quite some time and had moved up the ladder and had always kind of wanted to get into like group fitness instruction. So I taught yoga there and I was super successful with that, but I was more in like kind of the boot camp stuff. And I tried to kind of teach step. And it was kind of like a couple times when someone didn't show up, I'd get chucked in front of the class with zero skills. And then you kind of get labeled as like a bad instructor. And then you never get time slots. Do you know what I mean? So I really wasn't finding a place and I was bummed about it. Like I couldn't figure out how I could get into this group fitness. I really wanted to teach. Like I knew that was something that I really wanted to do, but I had been a bit beaten down over the years. Like, so here comes Emily, fresh and fabulous. She picks up any format like this, dancing around that step like you've never seen, doing the Elvis and the sailor and whatever those moves were, she had it dialed. And anyway, she started teaching dance fitness. And, you know, she just wants everyone to be part of the party. You know, Emily.
Oh, yes.
Like, you should teach dance fitness with me. And I'm like, okay, I draw the line at trying to teach dance fitness. No, you're going to take it. We're going to have so much fun together. And you're just going to take my routines and do them. And it's so you got this. I'm like, okay. So I did. And I actually started really loving it, like really loving it. But when I say dance fitness, like I would choreograph ham curls and jacks to a song because I have zero dance experience. Like I can't do the cha-cha 1, 2, 3 back step up and over like that was not happening. So even before Emily left, we rented a church and did like a little, like it was like this Lutheran church firehouse. And we did a little class and we charged per head, I think $3. And I think like 5 of our relatives came. And it was a very short period of time that we were both she moved very quickly after. And then she's like, you're going to take over for me. You got this. Off you go. And meanwhile, you know, I still wasn't great at it, but I loved it. So, as she said, when she moved away, it was actually, and I'll never forget this. I should have brought the sweatshirt. When I was down in the dumps and just learning this dance fitness, she had this sweatshirt on that said, love yourself. And she took it off her back and gave it to me. Left to Utah. And I was like so touched. And I knew that I had to get my and she said, rock you. Don't try to be me. Don't try to be Helen. Don't try to be anyone else there. Just rock you. We had both left Heavens at this time. We were kind of on our own. And I really, you know, I'd teach in a basement to 2 people with more passion than you've ever seen in your life and did hours and hours and hours of this and finally built the confidence. So this is where Emily's saying where the story begins.
And I think it's I think we get asked so many times when we have, you know, this fitness business and things like, what about when I have 2 people? I'm like, we taught to 2 people who we forced to be there. Like not everyone starts that way. Sometimes they jump into a big crowd and things like that. But it is this was not overnight. I mean, like I just said, we're talking about 13 years ago that we really started building our skills and progressing down the path that we wanted to, as far as what we felt like was our niche. And so
even our relationship wasn't overnight, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
No, we were friends, but it's not like people are like, oh, you're best friends. I'm like, well, yeah, now we are. But we were friends, you know, just but we would pass back and forth routines. So when I moved back to Utah, I started teaching
Zumba.
Here. Yeah, I taught Zumba, body attack, body jam, TRX, you name it. We've done it all. And I was teaching and I would send her my routines. So my Zoom routines I'd send, and then she started dumbing them down. She would, you know, how it worked for her. And she was like, I really feel she was like, I really feel like this is a thing. People are loving this. They love that it's not as dancey and things like that. And so I made this maybe fast forwarding too far into the story, Amber, but so I was pregnant with my second. Yeah. I was pregnant with my second and I'm teaching all these different formats and just living my best life. You know, I was very comfortable and safe. I was teaching at a local gym called Skills. I had huge crowds. Everything was good. And Amber, well, actually, I should back. Oh, yeah. So then I went up to Calgary to visit because every summer we'd go up. And Amber and I did a class together. And she's like, "You're going to do this with me." No, I'm mixing up the story. First of all, she came to me. I had just had a baby 2 weeks. And she goes, "I'm starting this thing. It's called High, and you're going to do it with me." And
I love it.
At that point, I was 2 weeks postpartum with a brand new baby. My husband had just lost his job. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And I said, but just, let's just give me a minute. Like I gotta like, not be postpartum for 5 seconds. So fast forward to that summer, a couple months later, that's when I went up and we had our discussions. And kind of, she was like, she came up with the name High. How did it come? Tell them. How did you come up with that name?
It just came to me. Like, it really just came to me. Like, I was like, there has to be like a name for this thing that, like, the thing is that we had evolved and created this thing together. Maybe it wasn't like a thing, but it was this like cloud brewing that started, it started having movement. So as we were passing choreography back and forth, this is what happened. So we were teaching Zumba. And that was one thing that really bothered me, is because I felt like I for sure was not doing that brand any justice, because I was basically doing high jacks and knees and to song, like literally. So I'd have big crowds and people loved what I was doing, but I'd go on vacation and I'd come back and the lady would be like, "I went to Zumba and they were Latin dancing." And I'm like, I know, like, that's what it is. Like, what I'm doing is kind of, I have to, like, this in me, I'm like, this is wrong in every way, because I'm not representing their brand properly. I'm not living up to our potential, because it's something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is this thing called that we've slowly created? And so,
because we would pass back choreography. So I'd be like, "I actually do a toner second." And she's like, "Oh, that's interesting. I should add that in more. Like, we should do more toning tracks." So then she started doing that. And I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." And then that's kind of what she's saying as it evolved over time. But because she was out on her own, she had the freedom to start exploring and kind of create her own brand, where I was very fixed into a gym.
Yes.
So I hate it when it's like, yes, I came up with the name. Yes, I forced her to do it with me. But this was always kind of like, it was always us. It was never like me just doing my thing. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should. No, it was always like this collaborative thing that was like alive. It kept adding the toners and adding this. And that's what was interesting about it.
And the thing about us is we're very different. Like, we're very I mean, as you can tell, like the way our minds work, everything. But when we came together, like I'm always tell, she came up with the name. She made me do. But what I mean is, this couldn't have happened where we are today without the both of us.
No,
because I had to come on to make it into something that was more than just the brewing.
Yes.
And also like the back and forth. And I remember, like being like, "Okay, we're doing this. Like, we're doing this." My husband was in, her husband was in. And I'll tell you, being a woman, mother, business owner, if you do not have the support from your spouse, it is going to be an uphill battle, because it's already an uphill battle. It's probably one of the hardest things you could ever tackle. But when you have supportive spouses like Zach and Hank, I mean, your battle just went downhill, because they're cheering you on when you doubt yourself. They're telling you it's worth it. They're sacrificing their careers, their things to support you. And so it was the whole family thing. All four of us had to be like,
we're like, let's do this.
We're going in like immediately. And I told everybody home, I'm no longer teaching these formats. I'm doing, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, this is what's happening. Like, we are going all in. And there was not 1 second of, once we said it, like hesitation. And people always said from the beginning, 50-50 businesses never work. 50-50 business. It's like, literally, it gets better with time. But I will say one thing that's helped us with that is we have from day one, we've had such a mutual respect for one another. And we've also had one single vision. And it's the same. So as different as we were, that our vision for the company and what it would be and what it was going to become was the same. We've never strayed. And we've had people do this, don't do this. Like, try to say that the name was too edgy, that da-da-da. And we were like, nope, nope, nope. And as long as we're on the same page and we respect each other more than the business, like I'd rather literally walk away from the entire thing than ever hurt or offend her. It's worked really good. I know that not everybody can do it and money gets scary and things like that, but we truly have since day one a mutual respect for one another that has really helped us succeed.
And I love that so much.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. Like we would way rather say, oh, do what you think than like upset each other. And what we do is we go with whoever's more passionate. Like if I'm like, I really feel strongly about this. It's like, I really could care less, or vice versa. Then that's what we do. In regards to building the business too, just like mentioning Hank and Zach, I mean, Zach's been here for me 100% with the kids in this, but Hank's actually pushed us in ways, the business that I don't think we would have ever done without his help. He's been huge with, like, for example, when we started, he's like, you need a marketing branding team to clean up your brand and get a style guide. And this, and we're like, what? And he's like, $10,000. So we're like, heck no, we don't have that kind of money. He's like, yes, you do. You can't afford not to. Like he always leveled us up to make us like a professional company instead of like a Joe Schmo from, amateur.
And one thing, Camille, is that we have self-funded this from the ground up. We have not had one investor, not one loan. It was literally, we taught classes in the beginning. We saved our money, paid off monthly, literally from teaching high, to pay off like websites, marketing, all those things. We haven't taken one loan or one investor. And we almost caved with some things we were doing this past year. And then we're like, nope, we did it. We don't have to. So that's been really just like fulfilling for us, because half the time we're like, we don't know what the crap we're doing. And then we're like, okay, wait, we're okay.
Yeah. I love that so much. So I want to So because I am familiar with it, what I love about high fitness so much is that it's an awesome outlet for people who have had a dance history like myself, but it's not so choreographed that others can't pick it up and do it and be able to be just as capable as someone who has danced in the past. So I'm curious, what has been one of the biggest benefits of merging those two so that it applies to everyone?
Yeah, I guess we didn't even say what high was, did we? We haven't said that yet.
That's okay. That's okay.
So basically, when we joined forces and we're doing this, our goal was, we had taught all these different formats, right? Like we'd been down the really dancey route. We'd done the boot camp. We'd done the this, that. We were like, we want to take the best of the things that we love and is the best workout, but it has to be fun. Like we want this workout to be as fun as it is a good workout. We knew we wanted it to be body weight because you don't want to deal with equipment and things like that. But at the end of the day, we were like, what's the most effective thing, but what will bring people coming back for more? And that's what it is. It's number one, pushing yourself out of a comfort zone, right? Like you have to get uncomfortable in order to get those happy endorphins, which is what you were saying. It's such an outlet for women, men, people going through hard times. Like talk about this quarantine, which I'm sure we'll get to. Like people were literally living for it because they needed those endorphins, right? Like we live for those. So we needed to create a workout that created those, high endorphins, make you that high feeling. But at the same time, we wanted to scale it back. So we would go to all these fitness conventions and we're like, why is nobody simplifying the choreography? Like you had your extremes, right? You had your boot camps, your CrossFit, things like that. And then you had your Bollywood, your Zumba, your Latin, all these things. And we're like, why is nobody simplifying it? Like this is key, because we always said, if we had a dime for everybody that said, I can't dance, even coming to high, which is what we're like, we'd be rich already. We wouldn't have to be. Because people, it is such a barrier. So while these big brand names are so much bigger than us and have this reach, people felt a barrier because of the complexity of the movement. They're like, they just want to have a good time, but also get a good workout. And as mothers, we're like, get in, get out 1 hour. I don't have 3 hours for the gym. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. And so and you can elaborate on that, Amber. But
well, I was basically like, the bottom of the barrel. So if I can't do it, we are not doing it. Like, cause I have no,
which is good to have that yin and yang so that you could have, that's great.
It is. I'd be like, heck no, I can't like my brain. So that was the thing, is she'd add the flair and I'd take it down to the, you know, the worst case scenario participant. Basically, it's like, if I can do it, pretty much I mean, of course I've gotten more and more rhythm as we've done this for 10 years, but I didn't dance. I was more of like an athlete. So, you know, it's great. It is great. It is so fun. And even music choices and having we are the yin and yang. Like we really, really are. Like it's so different, but it works together so well that's how we blended the two together. Plus our aerobics background. So we taught at this gym with this like 80s aerobic icon. We did Zumba forever, which we saw the like there's so many great things about Zumba. Like we think it's awesome, you know, but we're a completely different format, but they're the most amazing Latin dance format there is. Like we did learn a lot about the community and like different things from them. So just like different pockets of these different elements, like it really was the perfect storm. I don't think, like I believe in like the universe or whatever, things coming together. I do believe that it was something that was meant to happen just based on all these little things coming together, like Emily moving to Calgary, my dad being from Utah, us too. Like it is some crazy things that brought it together. A bit of luck as well as skill, I'd say. We can't take all the credit. Like the timing was impeccable. Yeah, it really was.
And also along with just being a different workout and bringing like a new workout to the fitness thing, we wanted to create it like as a community. So from day one, we call us the anti-fitness format. We're like, yeah, just come as you are. You don't need to lose weight. Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. Like, honestly, since day one, 6 years ago. And that was like when Instagram was very much like, look this way, be this way, 6-pack. We were like, no one's allowed to post ab shots. If you're a part of our brand, you don't post ab shots. Our before and afters are about your mental health. Like we really wanted to just create a community where everybody felt like they belonged, felt like they could have a part in it. And yes, you know, you scare away people a little bit along the line because the name high and it can be very high intensity and we've evolved and things like that. But we truly want to create that brand, and also we came up with some really fun new things. Like we were the first format to do Song of the Week, which lots of people have done that since, but we were the first one. So usually in fitness,
no one was doing that.
No one was doing. So usually it came out in chunks. So like either a month or a 3-month chunk of choreography and stuff to learn from. And we were like, I don't know how we're going to pull this off because that's a lot of work. Like, how do you film for every week and things like that? But since day one, we had our chunk of songs, and then every week we do at least one new high song of the week. And so that was one of our things that we kind of paved the way for in the fitness industry. And it's been fun. So like we tried to add more. It's more than just the fitness. It's just like a whole new culture. And even all the charity work that's been done, like things like, because we always joke, you got to stop doing charities, you know, because it's like, but my dad's like, I'm going to cut you off of the charities, like joking, obviously, of course, but that was not a thing. Like big fitness classes for charity was not a thing. And the thousands, I swear, we'd have,
I wanted to ask you that question is, do you know how much money you've raised from your charitable events? Because there have been so many.
Yeah. Because there's so many facets and instructors, it's hard.
I don't know how you would keep track.
I would. And we joke about it because it's a huge part of our brand and we love it. But sometimes we were doing like 5 huge charity classes a week and setting up and like
it's crying. A lot of work.
You're so like it got a bit nuts, but we will always do the charity and we love the charity work. And when our crowd's passionate, when we get together, huge things can happen.
They will show
I'd say
up.
Close to $1 million. I would say $1 million.
I would too.
I would think it might be more than that. I will tell you, I took one of my closest friends to a charity event for a friend of ours, Emily, that was going through cancer. And it was her first high event that she'd ever been to. And after that first class, she immediately fell in love with it. And she's lost over 150 pounds. And like, it's totally transformed her life. Like it's insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think it's really fascinating to see how your business has been so much about the community. I've never seen a fitness empire work like that. Not even close, with it being people that show up and rally around each other just for the goodness of it. Like it's incredible.
And that means everything to us. Like we could care less about the 100 pounds or anything. It's all about that.
Yeah.
That is it.
And I don't think we ever expected that. I would say that's been like, we knew we wanted to create a culture and a community because we're a subscription business. And what keeps people around is that community feeling, right? But I don't think we ever could have imagined like the stories like that and the community and I mean, just this past summer, I think it was over 100 grand was raised for OUR Rescue, just from high fitness instructors.
Oh,
yeah. In like 2 weeks, which was just incredible. So I think it was like 170 actually.
And for those who don't know, that's a sex trafficking organization that fights against child sex trafficking. So that's a big,
amazing
program that I believe in. So let me rewind a little bit. What was one of the biggest hurdles that you overcame in the beginning that you thought, how are we going to get over this?
I think our kids, like Emily missed her 2 daughters' lives and I missed my 2 daughters' lives. Her son, she's getting because of COVID. She probably wouldn't have otherwise, but that was a hurdle. Like I would bawl, like it was hard. I would bawl. I'd have to leave for days. We're in 2 different countries. This wasn't hours. This was
days and days.
Often and days. That was the biggest hurdle for me.
Because we did everything in the beginning, right? From the back end of the website to the emails to the training, every training. So we traveled to trainings, we traveled to each other, every news thing, so it was just the 2 of us. And since then we've grown to an amazing team that levels us up by millions things we couldn't do. But so I would say the biggest thing is, yes, I think learning to be a mother and a business owner, when in my mind, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm always like, it just happenstance. Whereas my husband always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I'm always like, how did this happen? So that's really, really hard. I also think it was hard to prove yourself in the industry. You were always getting shot down by people. Just being like, because when we started this, nobody just started a fitness brand. Like that was not a thing. There were only the big players, the Les Mills, the Zumba, the TRX, the Taibo, the Beachbody. There were now with Instagram and social media, there's a lot of different brands that have popped up. But almost 7 years ago, that was not a thing. And so people were just like, who do you think you are? And it was mostly the people that were the closest to me and like my work camaraderie that were just like, okay. And they didn't take, all of a sudden it's like spreading though. And it's in these different areas and they're still like, I don't know. And I'm like, there's gyms in, Arizona loving this. Why can't you accept? So I think, like the hardest hurdles for me were getting over just like, the mom business, like finding that and the leaving them. And then also just, trying to prove yourself in the industry.
So
and being in 2 different countries.
Yeah.
That was
we still heard all that.
Let's talk about that because I've been a part of partnerships where we've been in different states and even being in different cities is difficult. So how in the world have you managed to have such an incredible partnership being in 2 different countries, which starting out, starting a fitness company, being able to start in two countries at the same time, like how cool is that? But how do you manage that? Like that seems like such a big hurdle.
I think it was actually a blessing for many reasons. Because we had different influences. So like you bring forward different exciting ideas. Of course, we started 2 pockets at the same time instead of just one, right? That adds. But it's hard, but it's always seemed pretty natural just
because we don't know anything different. I think it's, it's like, it's all we know. But I do think there's been more, blessings than negatives. The hardest part is when I'm like, I just need you here.
Yeah, I know.
Or we're like launching a song and she's like, you filmed that like that. I don't do it that way. And I'm like, how do you not do it that way? We've been doing it for 6 months different, like just like not being in the same place. And sometimes you're just like, I just want to explain to you. Technology has evolved so much, like Marco Polo, FaceTime, Zoom, like 6 years ago, there weren't even really those things. But the way that we have been able to create our own identity in high fitness on our own, not like on top of each other. We truly like can celebrate each other's successes, failures, like be there to cry on when she's crying about something that's affected her that I'm like, usually if she's having a bad day, I'm having a good day. Literally this week she was on the bottom. I was here the next day. I'm like, I hate my life, like.
Yeah, no, it is. We are like so opposite that even like literally and I start garage band and she's putting on pom-poms and like, we really do have different identities, which is a beautiful thing.
I love that.
It's so beautiful.
But as we got, grew and had a little more monetary, we were able to fly to see each other. It was like at least every 3 months, then was every other month up until COVID, which we have not seen each other now. I think we're going on 9 months. That is the longest time we haven't been in a hug, like been together since we started high. Wow. Unfortunately, I think we've just gotten used to it now. I'm like, yeah, I miss you, but like, it's weird. Like, but we've still been able to grow our business exponentially during COVID without even having to be together. But you just make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a certain program or system that works for you? Like check-ins with your team? Like how do you navigate all the moving parts?
I'm the worst at Marco. I hate it because I refuse to pay the $69 that they all of a sudden add the charge. And so I can't fast forward and I'm sitting there listening and I open it up to like 300 messages. So I just I'm like, no, text me. So I'm stubborn that way. I need to get better, but I like, it's like a bunch of mini moving systems that work. Like, so we have someone named Janae Wilson who has literally saved our lives.
Our angel from heaven.
Yeah. And she's like the CEO of this mothership. Like she is incredible. She knows each of us very well. So she knows that we're creative types and she is incredible. So she has a mini team, like an administrative team. And then we have a social team. And then we have they're mini teams that all kind of check in. So they all have their kind of systems and we're pretty lenient bosses. Like we're not having them check in. Like if the job gets done, we don't care when you're working. We don't care how many hours you're get it. And they do.
Yeah. We have a management meeting with like our top management team every Monday. And we've been doing that for a couple of years. And it's been a game changer for us to just always check in. And then beyond that, we do have a problem that we're all over. We all work too much. I'll give you that much. Like,
yes,
because that's how we've gotten used to for so many years that like putting out fires 24/7 when you're the only ones on the staff, that's what you do. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but it's been so fun for us to be able to hire all these stay-at-home moms or girls that, whatever, they're not everyone's a mom. Yeah. We employ stay-at-home moms and they can work for as much or as little as they want, as long as they get the job done when they want it, when they can get it done. And that's super rewarding.
Yeah. Who isn't a mom? I'm trying to think who isn't a mom.
Well, I guess now everybody is. At one point, not everybody was. We really are persuasive in the baby making. And we also want to make that like in the fitness industry, we've known people who were like representatives of a fitness brand that felt like they couldn't have children. And we're like, no, you have that baby. You rock what you can while you're pregnant, postpartum, like you will still be the face of our brand as much as you want. Like we really encourage that because who are our participants? I think I was more relatable when I was postpartum 50 pounds heavier than ever before because people are like, that is real. There's some fitness people that have a baby and it's like a little ball and then they pop it out and everybody's like, you look really good, but I secretly hate you. I'm like, you're here for it all. And I went back to teaching classes. When I was still 50 pounds overweight and I was just like, well, how else am I going to lose it? This is what I'm going to do. And of course I was uncomfortable, but nobody cares. Nobody cares but you. And it's been so fun.
Emily's the best pregnant person. She's hilarious.
She's so
I made her do what was it? Fitness Idol.
She made me go on stage at a huge fitness convention, 25 weeks pregnant.
Yes.
And we won. We won. We won.
We won. It was awesome.
Because you're representing, it's like representing so many of us that like we go through that. It helped me lose weight from two of my babies. And what I love about it is that high fitness is so fun. Like you get from done with one song and you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. And then the next song pops up and you're like, oh, but this song is awesome. Like, talk to me about music selection and introducing product into your brand, because I feel like those are such unique things that you've done that it really has helped create your entire brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, song selection began just with us and what we loved and what we put forth. And of course, we're so different that we'd come up with different songs and different tracks. Now we get submissions, and that has totally changed. But we always wanted to be all genres, all decades.
I love it.
We never wanted to be like, I've been to lots of bar classes where it's only like the current hits only. And it's all like, no, add some rock, add this, add that. Like we want everyone to be in a class and get excited for at least one song, right? So,
but the one thing we were passionate about, and this made us different also, I'm thinking of the things that we brought in, is we were like, we refused to use digitized aerobics music, which made us have to jump and continue to jump major hurdles, because anyone who's in business knows that music licensing laws are no joke.
Yep.
It's huge. It's huge hurdles. It hurts our business every day in a way. You know what I mean? Like we have to jump through hoops, but we were dead set on the fact that we would only use music straight off like iTunes or whatever, that it was the original music. We speed it up most of the time to fit like we have apps, and we actually just launched a new instructor app that does it for me. It's really cool. Yeah.
We'll get to that.
But anyway, but over the time we were like and that's what I think you're saying. Like, this is so fun. There's something about that music that's so nostalgic, and like, you gotta love. I mean, this week we just released a Missy Elliott song, which is very current. Next week we're releasing 2 Dolly Parton songs, which people love, but it's like,
I love it.
Night and day. And as for the merch, when I was rocking my classes, the Little High, when I came up with the name and I was convincing Emily, I literally would buy shirts at the Garage, which is like this, young girls store, and take them to a guy that screened. And I sent one to Emily. I was always like, trying to get her in. So from the beginning, I think we always, sold t-shirts and stuff just for fun, but it was actually Hank that really pushed us.
But we literally would we went to Palm Springs one time to meet up because her family has a house there. And we went to the outlet stores, and we would go in each store and buy 10 shirts at American Eagle, 10 shirts here on the sell rack, and then would sell them. Like some of my friends have the originals. That's how we were in the beginning. Now we have a whole warehouse that says like, okay, we want these shirts for the holiday season, order 600 fave tees in Hunter Green. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole situation, but we literally would go store to store, buy them, and then get them screen printed.
I love it.
But now we have, we have protein, we have sweats, we have jewelry, water bottles. We have a fragrance that like ignites when you sweat.
I didn't know about the fragrance.
I gotta get you some. It's
okay.
Like people will stop you and they'll be like, why do you smell so good? It's so good. So we have all these things, but the thing that's really cool about it is we just have such a community. Like we talked about, we have a captive audience and a community. We always say, if we had to just sell merch, like that would be so stressful, but we have this audience who loves high fitness so much that's like, you put something out, it goes.
And we've tried to do like cool things without the logo. Like we've done a bag that we both love, and they didn't sell as well. People wanted to say hi, which is huge.
Yep.
Which is huge.
It's a huge
for us.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I think it's so much because it's not what the product is, it's the community and what they feel when they think about being a part of that. And that's what they're buying. It's that feeling of knowing that they have, I love that all of your music is so empowering for women, and that it feels so, it's funny because every time I hear the song Started from the Bottom, Now We're Here, I think of you too.
One of my faves.
Yeah, I know. It's one of my faves too. And like, I love that you really have taken this idea and this community and just exploded it into something that people want to buy. They want to wear it. Is that something that transformed the profitability of your business? Do you feel like introducing products really helped you in that area?
It definitely solidified the brand.
Okay.
But it's expensive. Like I feel sorry for people that just do a product because it's so expensive to manufacture and it comes back not right. And you're like ready to cry. Like it adds a lot of problems. I mean,
Interesting.
It adds profits, small profits, but
it
adds
does.
a lot of work.
And we've gotten better at what works and what doesn't to kind of up those profits and, additional revenue. But yeah, it's definitely like an ebb and flow, like where I was like, should we do that? Should we not? And I think we've gotten in a good rhythm of what works now so that our profitability has gone up. But when people think we're just like making money off the apparel, believe me, it's taken a long time and we try to do it for the best price we can while still making it worth it. Because once again,
it all seems great till the bill comes in and then you're like,
oh, trust me. My sister and I started a merchandise company and we actually were shipping coats from China and it was such a nightmare because it got held up in customs and it was just,
and we have the Canadian, it's a lot of work.
So I get it. Like I've been there and your facility is on stateside, right?
We've manufactured some things overseas, but what we found for that is a lot of times the headache is not worth the extra profit because we'll be like, we're going to launch these sweats apparently a year from now. Like that's, and say that whatever you're doing. And we're such like a song of the week. It's now we're doing this, that we're not good at like the year timeline. So we found that just like, going local and that has proved to be more successful for us.
We're like squirrel, like no one but Janae could keep up with us. So we can't even keep up with ourselves. It's so nuts sometimes. Okay. The ideas are flying.
Yeah, I love it. So can you think of a moment, and this is probably different for each of you, but when was a moment when you thought we've made it? Like we're doing this. This is happening. Like what was a moment like that for you where it really felt transformative from like this major crawl up a hill to like, okay, we're on a little bit of a peak where we can see that this is happening?
I think we're just getting to the point where we feel like, okay, this is
yeah, people would have said a while. Okay, so I have two moments and it depends. Like in the beginning for me, I remember one Thanksgiving because I always travel for Thanksgiving, right? Like I'm never home. People are always like, you want to do a Thanksgiving class? And I'm like, no. So I'm trying to think like this is probably 4 years ago. So we were 2 or 3 years in and I went to visit my brother for Thanksgiving. And I was in this small cabin in the woods, not rocking Thanksgiving morning, not rocking a high class. And I pulled up my social media and it was 300 person high class here, 100-person high class here, this city. And here I am sitting in this cabin. And I remember chills. I remember thinking, holy cow, like all of this is running and like, I have nothing to do with it. I mean, you know what I mean? But like, I'm not there making the class happen, bringing the people, like it was these huge events that like, we literally aren't doing these in our instructors and all of that. So that's one moment for me, like in the beginning. And then I think during COVID, when we literally, the first 6 days when the world got shut down were probably some of the hardest because people are like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And we had no music licensing to do anything online, nothing. And I ended up buying music off, this girl who did it and literally throwing together, like my thought that we threw up that YouTube so fast, like literally these people I called and I said, meet me at the studio in 5 minutes. Like that's how they didn't get practice, nothing. And we loaded that up and like the response and like the and just like people flocking because now it was the biggest realization to us that people need this in their lives, not for the weight loss, not for that, but and that's what we've been preaching forever is the mental game. Yes. People needed this so bad when you're just like locked down and you can do it from home. It's not ideal. In class is much better, but like you don't need equipment. You don't need, you know what I mean? And you could do it. So those are 2 moments that I can think of, but.
No, I love those, Em. Those are awesome.
I'm doing a massive giveaway over on Instagram at Call Me CEO Podcast. How do you enter to win hundreds of dollars of prizes? Know the code word for this episode, which is pretty face. Do a 5-star review and subscribe to this podcast. Take a screenshot, and DM it to me at Call Me CEO Podcast on Instagram. You can learn more about all of the details of the prizes that you can learn. And thank you so much for supporting me. It means the world.
That's the thing about high, is that it's not about weight, it's the emotional weight.
Mm-hmm.
You need to lose that emotional weight that's weighing heavy on you. And that's what high is about. And so when you go to a workout where you're hating every minute of it, the emotional weight actually gets heavier. It doesn't get lighter because you're sitting there hating life, thinking, oh, I suck at this, da, da, da. And then, that's what's so beautiful about high, is that it's actually the emotional weight that you lose. Okay, back to the real question. Sorry, I just thought of that. But that we've made it. Our convention was pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Like, it was electric. Like, it was. And the reason why I hesitate to say like that we've made it is because it's never been about Emily and I, like, it's way bigger than us. And we know that. We know that this is all because of all of the instructors and all of our staff, and because of like a higher power that's made this, like, truly.
Yeah.
It's not us just making it. It's like a real big, like Emily said, with all those classes running, it's like an entity on its own that has a life of itself at this point. So I think we've, I mean, if we were to stop today, I'd be pretty proud that we made so many women feel like they were enough. That's always been our goal.
I love that.
So
tell me, what was it about this convention that really like give me a moment in your eyes? What was it about that convention that was like, whoa, this is really cool? Tell me more.
It just, like, literally we opened the doors and the energy was just so light and just love in the air and fun and excitement. They're all coming in and they're taking pictures with each other, and just like, they don't even know each other, but they just like all connected in ways like you've never, they were holding on to every moment of just like being in person with each other. And just like our classes, us being together, them being with us, learning with us. Like,
yeah, I actually watched. So we did this opening number. Our theme for our instructor convention last year was 90s, like 90s. And we did this like music mashup. And I was watching it last night and I almost like started crying thinking about like how magical it was. It was just this room of screaming women. There were some men, like just like that were there, like wholeheartedly to support each other and us and everyone. And I think that's what she's saying too, is it's like, people were like, I don't even know you, but I love you, because it is this community. It's this community, and they could like be with people they'd never met that understood them on a level. And I know it sounds so dumb, just it's a group fitness, like you're a group fitness teacher or participant or whatever, but it's life-changing for so many people who lost themselves and now have found themselves through fitness.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds crazy at all. Like I live it and breathe it. And I was so excited when I found out that we got to do high at home during this pandemic. I was like, yes. Like, and even last night I pulled up Amber's class, and what was really funny was I pulled it open and I was the one that shared that I burned so many calories. I think it was like, yeah, that was me. So it was almost like 600 calories. But what is really fun is I opened up my computer, plopped it in the hallway, and I was hanging out with my teenage son that was playing it on his Nintendo Switch while my daughter was playing Barbies. And I was right in there between them and getting my workout in. And it was funny because they pop up and do some squats with me. And then, oh, this really is hard, Mom. And like go back and do their thing. And I just love that it can be something that our kids can see us do, and that they can see that fitness is about mental health, and that it is about appreciating our bodies and what they're capable of, and giving them a thank you by working them out and making it fun and just enjoying that. So let's talk about that twist and turn into the epidemic. Like and your app coming up, like these are some big changes. So
well, I grew up watching my mom do the 20-minute workout, and your story reminded me.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew even when I was 5 or 6 or however old I was, that it was never about the workout. Like, she felt cool. She got dressed up, and the girl on the screen had the hair and the sweatband. And like, I think it gave my mom an identity, a purpose, a moment of fun. I always saw that even when I was young. So kids seeing that, I think it's so cool for them to be like, it's
I see
fun to
so
work
many
out.
people tagging us during this epidemic with their kids around them and things. And
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
one thing that we've really tried to do, even with our children, like, I don't even know if my kids know that I do higher fitness to like have a better body. Like to them, it's like, it's what
No.
you do and it makes me happy and it's a job and it's not like we have to exercise or go to high because of this. It's because it makes you happy. They know mom is in a much better mood when she gets her
Yes.
high on, things like that. But okay, so the pandemic has been a blessing and a curse and all the things, but we have done so much during it. We say November 30th is our D-Day for our second app launch. And we're like, can we take a breath? Then we're just not going to do anything till the new year because during this, we've gone digital, which we can talk about. We've launched a new format called High Low, which is an addition to our current format, High, the original High, and also put out an app for our instructors, which is an incredible learning tool and has changed their game. And on November 30th, we're launching our High Fitness Live subscription and app. So all of this has happened since that. And it's been a lot. And those first weeks, like I said, it was 6 days and people were crawling down our throats. Instructors were saying, are you going to charge me? Are you going to cancel? And that's all you said, like revenue wise, like did your apparel, our entire business is instructors' monthly payments. So if we were to say, we won't charge you, then we still have a full staff running. They're still producing content, still making routines. We're still doing this. We're still paying a full staff. We're still everything. So for us, we literally would fail. And so we said, if you need to go on hold, go on hold. But like, we don't even know what's going to happen. This could be 2 weeks. We didn't know what was going to happen. And so it was just so many things. And then people are saying, can I stream to my friends? Can I go live on Instagram? And we're just like, no, because for 5 years, probably 6 at this point, we had followed every music licensing law to a T. And how I explained it is it's like, okay, say you're a big dog, okay? You're like Peloton and you break music licensing laws and you get sued. You can crawl yourself out of that. You got money, you got clout. On the flip side, say you're a personal trainer that's training people on Instagram and doing those lives. Nobody cares. But when you are a middleman and our community is so loud, like meaning like when we said they could stream on Zoom or whatever, when we got the proper, like it was like everybody knew. One lawsuit, we'd be gone. One music lawsuit, we're gone. We can't. And so we can't recover from that. And so we were trying to explain it, but people just were people are so used to that endorphins. And that's what they were, my sister was like, I wasn't sleeping. I
was doing 32 count aerobics.
Yeah, she was doing 32.
I was doing like techno and her whole family was following my cheesy aerobics class that I posted because we were all just so
people just wanted something. And so I remember I was crying. We weren't sleeping because people were just so like upset. Like we want to do high. And so through a lot of help with people, like I said earlier, we bought music to do the YouTube. We did 2 YouTube classes. And then after I swear it was only less than 2 weeks, we, through help of some friends, obtained music licensing stuff by paying, and we created a separate website to stream live only. So we can't do on demand because that's a whole different thing, but we were able to start streaming live. We've had all the tech issues in the world, but what we have gained from it in exposure as a brand and participants and people who I kind of came to high, sometimes even in my neighborhood are suddenly on every single live living for it. We always thought, no, high has to be in person. It has to be in person. And then this happened and we saw so many people that were like, I was just too scared. I would have never done it. Now I'll go in person. Or there's no way. I just don't have the childcare, but I love it. Or there's no high teachers anywhere. I've been dying to do this. It's been so eye-opening to us that, you know what? People can do it from home and it's still pretty dang good. It's not the best, but it's pretty dang good.
I think it's awesome.
We're so ADHD though. We're like squirrel, any excuse to get out of being at home and working out, but people do it. There is nothing like a live class, obviously, like energy and stuff, but it is amazing. If you you obviously do it and love it. And, so you get through the whole class and you love every minute of it. And
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. I love it. I get through the whole
I'm
thing.
asking you
I was like,
because
yeah, I love it. I get
you're
through the
like,
whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. I love it. I do bits and pieces and stuff, but I'm very ADHD. So I'm like, take my hat off to people that don't like go, oh, I have to vacuum or, oh, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I love
Like people that can
I love that
stay
you
in it.
can like set it up anywhere. Like I can do it in my bedroom. I can do it in the basement. I could do it in the living room and just bring my laptop and do it anywhere. Like I just love that so much. So
Well, like Emily said, like we were so stuck in our heads that, oh, people only want live or it's only fun live. And like you and like so many people, they're obsessed with it. And we're so glad. It means so much. Like people in Utah can do my class and people here that would kill for Emily's class can take it all the time now. Like it's totally changed the game. It's really cool.
yes.
Yeah. So our plan to do free classes for like just, a little while expanded into like 8 months of free classes, which I know it seems like it's simple, but behind every class takes planning and work and setting up and tech issues. Like when we like film some of those, like with a group, like I spend hours going over stuff before we go live, coming up with the playlist. And so it's a lot of time and energy, but what we found is people are like, well, I'll pay for more. Like people want more. And so we're getting ready, like I said, or, by the time this airs,
Yes, it'll be up and ready.
It'll be up and running, but it's High Fitness Live subscription and it can be accessed on a computer, on a phone. It's an actual app. You can screen share to your screen. You can put on a computer and we have 30 plus live classes a week. So that's 5 to 6 classes from about 15 different instructors. So like, it's like a gym schedule. Like, so, on Mondays at 9:15, you're going to get me. And then 6 a.m. on Fridays, Meta, noon on Tuesdays, Amber. And you just either what time works for you if you really love an instructor. And basically starting about 4:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, give or take on a day to 8 or 9 p.m., there'll be about 5 or 6 classes running. So there's a lot of different times. And
That's incredible. So I'll make sure to link that in the show notes so that everyone can have access to that. They'll be able to find it easily. And one question I want to ask each of the guests that we have on our show is, do you believe that balancing family and business is a myth? Or how do you believe that can best be accomplished? What have you learned along the way?
You want me to go?
Okay.
Okay, you go.
Sure. Go ahead. No, you go, Em.
I don't think balance exists. I don't think true balance exists. I think there's times when I'm more balanced and less balanced. And I've learned to accept that, which has been a very hard thing for me. I was raised in, an LDS community where the mom stayed home, she cooked and she did the things and she didn't work. And I am now the breadwinner of my family and I work all the time and I have for most of my children's life. So I think there's been times where I'm more balanced and less balanced. However, the blessings that have come to my family from seeing this kind of unconventional, like currently both me and my husband work from home. We get so much time with our children that he's like, it is a blessing every day in my life that I get to spend this much time with my children and be there. And I think that what they've gained from seeing us struggle and work and be entrepreneurs and be businesswomen is an asset to our daughters' lives and my son eventually. But I do think, and I think sometimes it gets out of whack and we have to be like, slap ourselves. Like I mentioned earlier, we're workaholics and be like, dude, we've got friggin' 5 p.m. Like put your phone down only if it's we're trying to be better as we've gotten more people on staff. It's allowed us to do that. But I don't know. Some people, I've heard people who are excellent at balance and have more rules. The way we work is not as good, but I also think that we do the best we can. And I actually get a ton of time being from home. I'd kill to go to an office every day, but at the same time, it's all I know. It's all I know is simultaneously doing both.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what I was going to say is the good news is our kids don't know any different. But that's the good news. It wasn't all of a sudden this came into their lives like some drastic big event. It's like, that's all they've ever known is us juggling high and juggling them. And my girls especially have become like, it's almost sad that they know that I'm doing, they know to just quietly go by. And sometimes they look like, can I come in? They like being a part of it, but it's definitely like all they know. So balance, no. But I do think it adds a positive element to our lives because they see us working, they see us hustling, they see, and I don't think this should be a rare thing, but I think it is, the male in the family cooking lots and supporting the wife like nobody's business. Like I'm like, hon, what's for dinner? You know what I mean? Like that's the norm in our house. And so for me, my girl seeing a male role, not necessarily being what it has to be. It can be anything. Like he can cook or I can work or he also works. Both our husbands also work full time and raise the kids full time. Basically, we have angel husbands. But I think that's a blessing for them. And I think that they will, in the long run, look back and say, I had amazing role model. That both our husbands and us running this company. So it's hard, but for us, I think the guilt kills us a lot of the time. Guilt's a nasty, nasty thing. But the not traveling has been really good for my family. That was the hardest part for me, especially. Like it would tear at my soul, and my kids they hated it. But without the traveling, I feel like it's getting better for sure. But like I said, either family, we don't know any difference.
Yeah.
So,
what would you say is something that you would tell to another woman or mother that was interested in starting their own business? What advice would you give yourself if you were starting over?
Don't do it. I'm kidding.
Or what would you tell her? Yeah. Emily, we'll start with you.
Oh, I'm totally kidding. I wouldn't. I would say you've got, make sure you align yourself with people that support you and believe in you. And the passion has to be there. Like if it's just something where you're like, I think this is a good idea, but I don't really like, you have to believe it with your whole heart. But I say go after. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. Like, oh well, move on. So I say, I just say if it's something you're passionate about, surround yourself with people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'd say easier said than done, but set hours to work. I mean, we don't do that. We're the worst at that, but that would have been a really good thing to do, is kind of have like set hours where we're off our phone. We've actually become better at that. We're like, it's between 3 and 6. Nothing good is happening at work. We need to focus on these kids. And so, and really just savor them and drink them in. Like I'm so guilty of so many times brushing them off. They're trying to show me something they made or whatever, but I'm in the middle of something. And I'm like, I wish I would have just,
It can wait. It can wait. Yeah.
It can wait. Yeah. So, it can wait. That is a good, yeah. As I'm tearing up. My baby.
It goes so fast.
It's so hard. And I know Emily got another go.
we share my baby boy. We share him. It's fine.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Well,
she can savor him. So, and I was until COVID, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, I know from personal experience, that you have changed so many lives and so many families, and not to mention the mental health that has made our world a better place by bringing high into our lives. So I just want to thank you publicly for that, because it truly has transformed so many lives. And that's a stamp of life that you can say, I did that. And I think that's pretty incredible. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if you want to check out or get deeper into high fitness, please tell everyone where they can go to find you.
Yeah. So we are on highfitness.com is our website. And then at high.fitness on Instagram and Facebook. It's just Facebook. I think it says I love high fitness. We're the worst. It's website or Instagram, high.fitness is where you're going to get all your info.
Perfect.
Yeah. Find an instructor near you. Like we said, there's nothing like in-person classes. The online stream's great when you're at home and stuff, but if you can find an instructor, great. But if not, or if you're intimidated, hop on. And we didn't mention our high-low. So if you're someone that does not want impact, don't think low means less fun or less intense, because you're going to get a great workout and you're going to have a blast, but it just doesn't have the impact. So I don't want to say that's a great place to start, because I love high-low and I love high as well. Like it's just a different format. But if there's an intimidation factor, high-low is an amazing, great format without the impact. So it's a great starting place if you're just getting started, and we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And we'll make sure to link.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been such a joy. Hey CEOs, thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please let me know in a comment and a 5-star review. You could have the chance of being a featured review on an upcoming episode. Continue the conversation on Instagram at Call Me CEO Podcast. And remember, you are the boss.